What's up everyone? Today we're going to be learning 10 Spider-Man moves that anyone can learn. So these are basic parkour moves or Spider-Man-like moves that you can start off as basics and obviously progress into more advanced moves. Whether you're a cosplayer or a parkour athlete or just someone who wants to be able to move like Spider-Man, well, here are 10 ways to learn how to move like Spider-Man. So our first Spider-Man move is probably the most important one we're going to learn today, because this is the one that's going to make us look the most like Spider-Man in the way we move. And this is going to be the jump pose into the Spider-Man landing pose. Now there's elements of these moves we're going to incorporate in just about every move we do today, because without these elements, you're just doing parkour or tricking. It's these elements that stylize the moves for you to really look like Spider-Man. So first we're going to learn how to get into the Spider-Man pose by jumping in the air. The goal is to jump as high as you can and then bring your knees up and your feet together with your toes pointing down, and then you're going to bring your hands out to the side and slightly back. You can do different things with your fingers depending on what you want it to look like. Another variation of this is to also bring one hand out in front of you to give it a more aggressive look. Once you have this jump move down, now we can start working into the landing, which is the superhero landing or the Spider-Man landing. There's a few different variations. The classic superhero landing, you're landing with one knee and one foot on the ground, whereas Spider-Man, he's much more nimble, so he often will do the superhero landing, but he'll also do his own signature landings. One where one leg stretching out to the side with one arm stretching out either behind him or off to the side, and his other hand touching the ground, not in a powerful ground pounding way like some superheroes do, but with his fingers just barely touching the ground. And then the last Spider-Man landing variation is to land with both feet together and both hands just in front of your feet and your knees bent to the side. This is the classic overlooking the city pose he will do in the movies and comics. So first, practice getting into the pose on the ground, and then you're going to practice doing small jumps into that pose, and then slowly start incorporating the Spider-Man jump pose into the superhero landing pose. Now, if you're a parkour athlete and you want to do this from height, you have training jumping from height, realize that going straight into the superhero pose from height is going to be harder on your joints. It'll often look just as good doing a roll out of the drop and then coming up into a superhero pose from the roll. Next up, we have the Kong vault to spider pose. So this is when you have a ledge or obstacle to vault up onto and land in the spider pose. This one's pretty simple. It's learning the basics of the Kong vault and then landing in the spider pose. The bigger a ledge you have, the easier it is to learn this move. You're going to start out by first just using your hands on the ledge to pop up with one foot. And then you're going to proceed to jump up with 2 feet while moving one hand away to make it a bit easier. And then ultimately you want to be able to bring both feet through your hands. Once your feet are through your hands, you can start working on distance depending on the size of the ledge and where you want to land on the ledge. At that point, it's just a matter of landing in the spider pose you want to land in. Now, a slightly more advanced variation of this move is to actually do it onto a handrail. Now, this requires some practice with your balance on handrails and comfortable vaulting over handrails. And then from there, it's just a matter of, once again, doing the same progressions of hopping up onto the rail with your feet, trying to land in the center of your feet so you have room to either jump off forward or backwards, and then manage to just hold your balance as long as you can. If you feel yourself losing balance, then pop off either backwards or forward, aiming to land on your feet. The Macaco, a stylistic tricking move that Spider-Man actually does in the PS4 video game to dodge bullets. So the progressions for this move are actually pretty easy to learn. It'll just take practice to get better at it, and once you do, this move looks really cool, especially if you do it in the actual Spider-Man costume. So to start learning the Macaco, you're going to get down on the ground and choose one hand, your strong hand, to jump over. You're going to place it behind you, and then from here you're simply going to jump and try and land your feet behind your hand with a little bit of a 180. You're not trying to get upside down at this point. Once you have this move down, progressing this into the Macaco is just a matter of practice. You're going to practice jumping a little bit higher, kicking your feet a little bit higher, and pushing your hips out to go over your head a little bit higher. And you can start this at an angle and slowly work your way up until you're going completely inverted. And to make this move stylistic like Spider-Man, be sure to land in the Spider-Man pose. Next up, we have the Spider-Man crawl. So this is something you'll see him do, either scaling a wall or trying to sneak up on bad guys on flat ground. We're going to do this on flat ground because obviously we can't do it on a flat wall. So to do this on flat ground, you're going to want to learn basic quadrupedal movement. This is where you're learning to crawl on the ground on all fours with your hands out in front of you. Now to make it look like Spider-Man versus just doing quadrupedal movement, it's important to get your chest low to the ground and your hips low to the ground, because that's what will make it look very Spider-Man sneaking up like he's ready to attack someone. The dive roll, a classic dodging move Spider-Man will use to evade projectiles or enemies, or simply dive off of roofs and into a web swing. But today's purposes, we're just going to be learning the dive roll. Now, if you haven't done any type of roll, we'll do the variation of just learning the basic forward roll. But once you've learned the forward roll, you can actually start progressing into the dive roll. With both the basic forward roll and the dive roll, you want to avoid touching any part of your head on the ground and using your hands on the ground to control the motion to your back, rolling diagonal across your back to your opposite hip. Once you feel comfortable with the forward roll and that it's smooth and feels good, then you can start stepping it up and start doing it with a little bit of jump, where you're just jumping into it just a little bit. You can still start down low, but then you're going to jump and use your hands once again to control the rolling motion. From there, it's just a matter of progressing your jump higher and higher until you're dive rolling as high as you can jump. Now, you can't just do a dive roll and call it a Spider-Man move without coming up into a Spider-Man pose and adding a little bit of flair in the air. Simple way to do this is actually by reaching your arms out like you're gonna flap like a bird for a second and then quickly bring them back in to finish the dive roll. Now, that's also going to be a little bit more dangerous to put that in, so make sure you've gotten very confident with your dive rolls before throwing in the outreached arms. The upside down hang, a classic move Spider-Man does hanging from a web, only we're going to find a sturdy object like a branch or a pole or a rope, something that we're confident to hang from. Now, the important thing with being able to do this one is you'll want to be able to have basic grip strength to hold your own body weight hanging from the object. It's important that you can hang long enough that you know you'll be able to get your feet up and back down if you need to, if you're gonna start losing your grip. Now, the biggest thing with getting upside down is this is actually going to take a bit of core strength. It's going to require tucking your knees upwards, and you can even use a little bit of swing kick with your legs and your knees to drive your hips upwards, and then you're just gonna crunch your abs as hard as you can to lift your hips up and bring your feet all the way up to your hands, to where your hands are. And then to come down, you'll just unhook your feet, let your feet slowly lower down, and then drop safely to the ground. The tic-tac, because you can't be Spider-Man without knowing how to run on a wall. So the tic-tac is a form of running along a wall horizontally. Now, to start learning this move, we're just going to start with one step on the wall. We're going to do a slow approach to the wall, jump towards the wall, and just do a simple tap on the wall with your foot to get a feel for it. And then as you jump towards the wall, you'll then push away from the wall. Now, the goal with this move is to start increasing your speed so that you can get better grip on the wall and transfer that momentum into higher jump off the wall, especially if you're going to start progressing into the 2 and 3 step wall run, which are a bit more advanced, but they're just as easy to learn as the tic-tac through just practicing. You can start using the first step as a way to get up a little bit higher, and the second step, the push away from the wall. And then for 3 steps, this is about having more momentum, jumping into the wall a bit harder, and actually turning your body a bit more horizontally towards the wall so that it's easier to get all 3 steps in. The wall pounce, the ultimate Spider-Man move for taking the coolest photographs ever. Getting a cool photo in this pose will make it look like you're actually sticking to the wall. Now, the trick with this move is going to start with the basic technique of the tic-tac. You're going to run towards the wall and hit the wall with your foot, but now you're going to actually try and let your body come into the wall with your hands and your other foot. We're absorbing our momentum into the wall, and that's what allows us to hang on the wall for a second to make it look like we're sticking there like Spider-Man. To make it even cooler, to add a little bit of flair, you can even try and get a little bit of inverted, not upside down, but just getting your body a little bit sideways, and then bring your feet back underneath you as you push away. The vertical wall run or climb up is running towards the wall like a tic-tac, but now we're going to go straight up the wall and practice getting as high as we can while keeping our body close to the wall. The goal is to eventually grab the top of a wall, if it's a wall that's low enough to grab, and then climb up to the top of it and get your feet on top, where you can then do a Spider-Man pose and come back down and do a Spider-Man landing. There's more technical ways to practice and learn this move that I've done tutorials on you can go check out. But for the most part, this is just a matter of building your upper body strength for the pull-up and push-up motion, and then just practicing getting your feet up onto the wall from that pushing up position. So there you have it, 10 Spider-Man moves anyone can learn, with obvious progressions for more advanced moves if you want to take them to the next level. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something from it on your journey to becoming Spider-Man. Be sure to check out my previous Spider-Man videos and tutorials to help you learn a wide variety of cool moves you can do yourself. And also be sure to subscribe, because I'm releasing videos every Friday again, so you'll want to stay tuned for the tutorials and awesome videos I have coming out. So thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.